So you're feeding your dog liver because you think you're doing a good thing, and you're feeding it almost daily. Did you not know that actually liver is high in vitamin A? And vitamin A is not a water soluble vitamin, it's actually a fat soluble vitamin. The difference between the two is that fat soluble vitamins accrue in the liver and water soluble vitamins don't, because you're able to urinate them out. So, say for example, if you have an American bully and you start giving them liver every day because, I don't know, you heard it somewhere or you thought it was a good idea. What can end up happening is you can start weakening your dog's bones. Yeah, you heard correctly. And your dog may end up walking around like it's got some sort of issues, which genetically it might not have, but because you were feeding them this way for a long period of time, you can cause orthopedic issues in your dog if you don't know what you're doing as far as the nutritional side. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And to join me is going to be my dude, Money Mike. What's going on, man? Look at that, man. Look at Kyle kicking it up live. Hey, Mike, I have to announce, guys, by the way, Money Mike and his beautiful wife just celebrated their anniversary. So can I hear some more applause for Money Mizai?
Yep, number 11.
They're number 11. Actually, they say that number 11 is probably the most important one. Most divorces happen at 7 and 11. After that, you're pretty good, bro. So glad to see you got over the hump there, the second hump. Yeah, man. Listen, let me say what's up here to my peeps. We got Miss Inserata saying what's up. Raymond Bulls. Like always, we got Rio Grande saying what's up. We got Adam Fields. We have Upper Deck Frenchies. What's going on, man? So, Mike, were you aware, bro, that you could actually screw your dog up if you don't know what you're doing nutritionally as far as like what you're feeding?
Yes, but I did not know what you said about the vitamin A being able to pass or not being able to pass through the bladder.
Yeah, no, actually, the vitamin A is one of those main vitamins that can actually become toxic to both dogs and cats, man. That's crazy. And this is not me saying it, by the way. This is coming through, the VCA and all these veterinary, high ups and whatnot. Yeah, that's what they're saying. I mean, not just vitamin A toxicity. If you're using large amounts over time, not only that, it can become dangerous. So not only can you screw up your dog's, bones or joints and that sort of thing, you can actually kill the dog if it becomes exactly, man. It says VCA says large amounts of liver every day for a long time can cause vitamin A toxicity in dogs and cats and can lead to death. That's how crazy that is. Now, that doesn't mean that liver is a bad thing. You see, this is what I want a lot of people to comprehend. Liver is not necessarily a bad thing. Neither is garlic. Neither is anything else you can give a dog, okay, that the dog can actually tolerate in smaller amounts. But like anything else in life, Mike, you ever taken an aspirin or a Tylenol?
Yep.
Have you ever read the bottle, or you just open it up and take the whole bottle in one shot?
No, you got to look at the dosage.
Exactly. And the same holds true for liver and for many of the things that we're going to be talking about today. By the way, Inserata saying congrats to you, Money Mizike, and Rio Grande as well. Happy anniversary from Inserata.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, man. So the other thing that I would like to tell people that can actually get their dogs and cats in terrible trouble is homemade dog food that is unbalanced. Money Mizak, I'm gonna let you take a quick crack at it. What would you think I'm referring to when I say unbalanced dog food? What's something that would stick out to you?
Omega-3 and omega-6 ratio.
Omega-3 and omega-6. Okay. Omega-3 and omega-6 can create an unbalance. I'm not saying that it can, but more than anything, it's going to cause inflammation if it's out of whack, but not necessarily to the point where it could be detrimental, say, orthopedically, unless you're way far off for way too long. But nonetheless, that is an unbalance. The one thing I think of immediately from unbalance, whenever you say unbalanced dog food, I'm thinking about the vitamin and mineral load. So, what a lot of people are going to do, right? You could tell Mr. Thizzolino, the first time on. Thizzolino, over here, man. We're talking right now about what we're feeding dogs. We'll get to probiotics later on. So hold on to that question if you can. Shoot it on later on, okay? Nice to get on a live stream, says BCNEWE. You got it. Yeah, there you go. So here's the deal. If your vitamins are out of whack, the dog is going to be out of whack. I just explained, if you're giving too much vitamin A, you're going to have a world of hurt. If you give too little vitamin A, you're going to have a world of hurt. And that goes on for just about all the vitamins. By the way, vitamin C, in my recommendation, is probably one of the, if not the most important vitamin for a dog. But in addition to that, the minerals. What are you talking about minerals, Raul? Calcium, phosphorus in particular, especially to a growing pup, that is detrimental. And so a lot of people like to feed raw, but they don't like to feed bone. And the minute that you're doing that, what ends up happening is you throwing your dog out of whack. And long term, we're going back to orthopedic issues. And even worse, you could even start damaging certain organs because the dog's body may decide to pull calcium from within its body in order to compensate for what they're not doing. That is correct. Do you know what other mineral is mostly missed when people are making home diets, Money Mike?
Potassium.
Potassium. Okay. All right. Well, potassium is not necessarily a mineral, but it is an electrolyte. And that's really important, bro, because the potassium and sodium balance, if you have that.
I think if selenium was a mineral or not.
What's that?
I was trying to think if selenium was a mineral or not.
No, but your dog definitely needs it. And we're going to get it. Yeah, we're probably going to touch up on that. The thing about potassium that you just hit up on, if your dog has, say, too much sodium and not enough potassium, that can lead your dog to have heart issues, even arrhythmias. So one thing I got taught, yep. Hey, you can tell Kyle is working it in the.
He's on it tonight.
He's on point tonight, man. But listen, when I got to ICU as a nurse, they're throwing so much information at you. And I remember pulling back from when I was in school and understanding that the heart actually pumps and relaxes based on electrolytes, right? So this is important. Sodium is going to cause contraction, okay? And potassium is going to cause relaxation. This is important because if you're feeding your dog, say, too much sodium. Let me give you an example. Recently, I got hit up by somebody. Oh, I heard you're feeding sardines, right? In water, like this. I heard you're feeding this. So I'm going to start feeding just this to my dogs. I'm like, man, you don't want to, before I could even say you don't want to do that, he hung up on me. Tried texting him, don't want to listen. Because it almost seems like we live in a world where the minute you hear the shortcut, that's it. That's all you need, and you want to run out the door. Here's the problem with as much as I love sardines. Here's the problem why I would not feed this as the main staple to my dogs. Because that sardine comes in water. And that sardine is going to naturally have sodium. Naturally, right? And if you make it where you're opening up 6 cans of sardines to feed your dog and they're taking in that much sodium, what you may end up doing later on down, remember I said when the heart pumps, it contracts that sodium, it relaxes the potassium. Well, when it has too much sodium, it contracts, it's going to have a hard time relaxing. And that's called either a dysrhythmia or arrhythmia. Trust me, you don't want your dogs to have that. So I'm here to tell you guys today, not necessarily what's good and what's bad. I think a lot of you know. Let me just throw it out there so you can't say I didn't say. You don't feed your dog grapes. You don't feed your dog xylitol. What's xylitol? Xylitol is a sugar replacement, a cheap sugar replacement that they love putting into things like peanut butter. And if your dog gets it, it's just not going to be a good thing.
Onions
right?
are another one.
What's that?
Onions.
Onions, definitely. Onions.
Raw potatoes.
Raw potatoes. Mike, you're preaching to the choir, man. I just got hit up this week about somebody saying that they were feeding raw potatoes to their dogs. You don't want to do that. There's something inside of that potato when it's raw that when your dog eats it, it actually becomes poison in them in the long run, right? What else? What else can we say you never feed a dog that could kill them? We know onions. Somebody's going to raise their hand and say garlic, but I feed garlic.
Chocolate's bad for dogs.
Chocolate is very bad for dogs. You don't want to feed chocolates to your dogs. Also, one thing that you don't necessarily feed, but I just want to throw it out there because this week I got asked on that. You don't give your dogs over-the-counter medications like Tylenol or Motrin. You don't do that. That's the fastest way to run up either a vet bill or kill your animal. Make sure not to do that. Let's see here. Calcium Prosperous is saying Inserata. Goat's milk has all the vitamins and minerals, says Don Williams DuPont. You see, these are the myths that I want to debunk today because a lot of people are trying to do the right thing and without knowing, they're screwing their dogs up, man.
See, that to me, I know obviously we're headed in this direction, but it's like if you had a supplement that checks all these boxes, right, that has had 0 recalls, it's a given. It's like, man, it's a lot of homework. It's a lot of homework. Like we've been doing this a long time, and I still feel like the scientists that put the product together know a lot better than me what the dog needs in proportion and have got it down to a science. And the combination of those two things just seems like, yeah, it's a sure thing in comparison to you trying to balance some barf diet and have the proper amount of vegetation and fruits and proteins and fats. And it's like, you
hit it on the head, man. By the way, you're seeing NuVet jumping over here. Here's a QR code, and then you're going to see it back over here. The green bottle is a multivitamin. The blue bottle is joint support and an anti-inflammatory. What Mike is saying is absolutely true. Rather than trying to juggle and figure out and measure, who's got time for that, man?
Well, it's tough, man. Like, yeah, I consider us, of the, I would say we're in a small percentage of people that understand what a dog needs as far as diet.
Yes.
And I still feel like that's a more sure thing than me trying to balance something. Not that I can't, but day in, day out with a bunch of dogs, it's just a sure thing based on weight. I mean, it's a better deal for me.
Yeah. Rather than, sitting there and weighing how much liver you're going to be giving your dog and all that, you give your dog NuVet and Nuvet NuJoint DS and pretty much don't have to worry about it. It's consistent. It's cold pressed. It's at human food grade. You ain't got to be worried about all these things that you got to juggle, right?
Yeah.
Are you giving too much? Or are you giving too little? Look, you guys know I fed raw for years. I'm still feeding raw. In fact, I modified it. I'm feeding cooked rather than raw. And a lot of people are hitting me up and saying, you sold out. I just love it how this community, I'm talking about mostly the American Bully community. So, guys, I come as an American Bully breeder. If you're here as a nutrition person or you're a dog owner or whatnot, I'm not referring to you, but I'm referring to the American Bully community. All of a sudden, because I have evolved, right? I evolved when I first started. I was feeding Victor. I evolved into raw. I was called a sellout then, and then I evolved from raw into cooked because I have data and I have seen with my two eyes what it's doing in my yard, and so I'm selling out. I'm selling out because I made a video for people to learn how to, if you have to feed kibble, because we know here in America, most people have to work. You don't work 40 hours a week. You work 50, 60 hours a week. Because if you take in consideration, you're working 40 plus hour and a half to get at work and an hour and a half to get back, plus maybe stopping to buy something to eat or stopping to go to the grocery store. Now you're out of the house for so many hours. Not everybody can feed raw. And so the least I could do is tell you, hey, man, grab yourself sardine with water, sardine in water, grab yourself some eggs, boil them, throw them in there with the dog food. It's not going to be the best that you can feed your dog, but it's way better than what you're actually feeding. Oh, you're a sellout. You're a sellout because I heard you in one video, buddy. We have over 2,000 videos. So if you heard me in one video 6 years ago, point left, and all of a sudden I'm pointing right now, I was pointing left, and now I decided to point right, you can't kill me for that. I evolved. I have told you guys from the very beginning, the most important thing that a dog owner or a dog breeder has is the knowledge you have between your ears. And knowledge is not something that remains static. Okay? If the reason that I ruffle many feathers is just because of that. It's because I don't stay static. It's because backyard breeders will sit there and be like, huh, see, he's feeding Victor. That was 6-7 years ago. I stopped feeding Victor. I decided to feed raw. Now I'm a sellout because I'm not convenient for you. See what I'm saying? And that's absolutely fine, man, because I don't sit here and run a platform trying to be convenient for anybody. I run it the way I run it. I evolve the way I evolve. I share with you what I share with you. The people that come here and sit and watch, there's two things that are going to happen. You're either going to click out and leave because I didn't get too quick to your answer, or you're going to sit here and learn, and it's going to make you that much better. And I'm okay with it. If at the end of the day, it's only 5% that sit through and learn, that's fine. We're going to learn to grow with that 5%. I'm saying all that to say that there is no shortcut to success. Oh, I'll just feed liver because I saw you in one video one day feeding liver. Well, now you're feeding liver out your dog's ears. And next thing you know, your dog is coming up, getting sick, lethargy, bone issues, having all this. And now you want to wag the finger and point the finger at me because my shortcut, what you thought I was giving you was a shortcut, when in reality it wasn't. You see, I just made a video talking about don't feed liver every day in large amounts. I'm not just saying this. I'm saying this because that was me years ago. And I saw the detriment within my yard.
Yeah.
I'm not just pulling something out of my hat. I'm talking to you about something that I have experience in. Not only that, I had to research at the time because even though I'm a nurse, I'm not going to sit here and BS you. I don't have a degree as a nutritionist. So luckily for me, I have enough medical understanding to where I can sit and research and go into nutrition and 2 hours later come out of it with a aha moment.
Well, it makes sense that, you would look up scientifically that liver is good for the dog, but you wouldn't know until you put it into practical use that it's the other things that are most likely going to be in the liver that are causing the problems. But you learn that just trial by fire. I mean, you can research something till you're blue in the face and find, everything is a rabbit hole, right? But you wind up finding as you go, and that's part of this journey. And I think you've said it from the beginning that what you're doing here is sharing your truth. You're sharing as you go, learning as you go. Some things we already know, and some things, evolve, like you said, and that's just what it is, man. I don't know why anybody want to be a hater and say that's some kind of selling out. I don't get that.
I really don't want to go down that road, even though I literally went down that road. But let me just say this. Unfortunately, in the breeding world, I don't care if you're breeding American Bully, Dobermans, or whatever. Everybody views everybody as competition. And unfortunately, there's a culture of let me steal what I can from you so I can take credit. And if it goes wrong, I get to point the finger at you. That's just how it's unfortunate, man. It's the bottom of the barrel of human nature. What really sucks is not only do they come in and they steal your content and try to make it like it's theirs. What's sad about it is in the process of doing so, they screw it all up, because you got to keep in mind at that point, it's just an actor repeating what somebody is actually stating based on what they think people are going to like, because they're seeing that you're having success. So they need to stick their hand in your cookie jar so they could have success. That's how it goes. That's how it has been going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Angel says, you said a mouthful. Absolutely, bro. And I'm not lying. You know what I'm saying is true. And that's why in the American Bully world and in the dog breeding world, for those of you that owning dogs and you're not into breeding, but you want to buy from a breeder or whatever, this is why it's so important to go into that breeder's Facebook page and scroll back 6 months to a year and start seeing patterns of their behavior. Because unfortunately, you're going to be buying from this person. Is that person a charlatan? Or is it somebody that really knows what the hell they're doing? And the only way you're going to know is by doing your research on that as well. And that's why when I came out and I was feeding Victor and decided to feed raw, all these breeders were like, I used him as an example, and now he no longer fits my narrative. So now I got to point the finger, call him a sellout. Then I feed raw and I make all these raw videos, and then I evolve. Why did you evolve, Raul? I evolved because Liver screwed up one of my dogs. Yeah, no, this is not me copying somebody's content. If you've been following me for a minute, you're going to know not only do I not need to copy anybody's content, that's just not the way I roll. Because if I'm going to be able to talk to you from a point of experience and tie it into whatever medical research we're doing, I better know what the hell happened so that I can speak with authority. That's why we're able to answer questions live, and everybody else copying our content wouldn't dare to come live and answer questions because they got nowhere to answer. They don't have an experience or a background. They just copied whatever I said in a video, right? Just keeping it real with you. Just keeping it real with you. So let me just say this. Evolution is important. I went from Victor to raw, from raw. Now I'm integrating to cooked. And not only cooked, I'm also adding kibble to my cooked along with my raw. Oh my God. What did he just say? Yeah, I said it. And the reason I said it is because I'm authentic. I don't copy anybody. I mess around and I experiment. And when I tell you this particular kibble is garbage because A, B, C, or D, you could take it to the bank. In fact, I challenge you. I challenge you to fact check me. That's how I roll.
I remember when you fed your dogs raw through the winter, when you initially recommended against it, just to say that you had done it so that you could have an opinion on it to make sure it was what you were saying it was. That's the type of thing that you do over there. You go through things, try different ways, and follow through with it to test results and dial in.
Yeah. Listen, it's in my nature as a nurse. How do you know if X bag of kibble really sucked? Give it to your dog for a week. You're about to find out. But you see, I understand the layman. The layman out there doesn't have time to sit there and feed the dog that for a week and let the dog have an ear infection because he probably doesn't know how to handle that to begin with. And then it could spiral out into something. In my case, it's a little bit different. I got many dogs. I can dedicate 1 or 2 dogs to a particular bag, see how it works out. Or like I did in the past from kibble to raw. and raw to cooked. So anyways, I'm going around in circles real quick. Peter Stoiber saying everybody wants to be the most knowledgeable or popular. I know, man. I know, bro. What really sucks, Peter, what really sucks is when they try taking your content when you're not trying to be the most knowledgeable or popular, but they keep hitting it on their chest like they came up with it. What I urge people, if you ever see my content being repeated or replicated anywhere, ask those creators to please go live and answer questions live like we do. Straight up. I promise you. I told you, I've already written to about 100 of them. They will not respond. They will not come on the live. I invited them on the live. Let's have a conversation. Exactly. That's exactly it. Really enjoyed the kibble reviews too. I switch all my dogs based on the omega-6, omega-3 ratios being off. Yeah, listen, just changing your dogs from above a 5:1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, just doing that alone is a tweak. Okay, it's not fixing everything, but it's an important little tweak, right? Yeah. You turn around and you add sardines and water, and you turn around and boil an egg and you throw it up in there. Hey, what do you know? Fido doesn't have that the fur patches that he had last year at this time.
And the more people enter that stuff into the kibble analyzer, it grows the data in that analyzer, and
Correct.
and you can see like the different categories that it tracks.
Correct.
And people can utilize that. You can look when it says the number one kibble in there, it's based on hundreds and potentially thousands of entries, and the point scale for each one of those kibbles.
What Mike is talking about, guys, is my Kibble Analyzer app. You can download it. It's absolutely free to download. Many people have downloaded and they're using it right now. I think yesterday over 33,000 people actually were using it. Last time I checked the numbers. What's happening is you actually scan the bag. You scan the front of the bag. You scan the nutritional label. You scan the ingredients. You scan the price. And then you put in the information, how old is your dog? How much does it weigh? Is it spayed? Is it not spayed? Yada, yada, yada. And it puts it all together and spits out a number based on the kibble that you're feeding. So look, I'm gonna tell you how easy it works.
The number represents how good that particular kibble is for your particular dog.
That is correct. So the higher the number, the more value you're getting. So I'm just throwing this out there. Say you have a dog that's having all sorts of allergic issues and whatnot. You go to the kibble analyzer, you punch in his information, punch in the kibble, comes back and it says, yeah, these 6 ingredients are causing allergies. Yeah, it's time to change kibble. Not only that, it has a list of the top 20 kibbles out there from the 33 and some odd thousand people that were using it yesterday. So automatically you're getting the best information, the best results, because it's constantly updating. It's sharpening the knife, as you would say. So yeah, if you're interested, Kibble Analyzer app is absolutely free. You can go ahead and completely download it. We got Ms. Zarata. I feed them mix of kibble and eggs and meat and sardines. That's excellent. I was giving them mackerel and salmon, but recently changed to eggs and hamburger, etc., because of your recent videos. So again, the knowledge you got between your ears, that's what makes a breeder or whatever you want to be, whether you're a dog owner, a breeder, a handler, it doesn't matter. The more knowledge you got, the more powerful you become because you become more efficient. So little things like this, for example, and I'm going to recap it. The reason you don't give mackerel and salmon is because fish that live for longer than a year have a tendency to accumulate more mercury in their body. Yeah. And when you grab a fish like that, and you put it through the process of kibble, where it's cooked at over 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're putting it through the extruder, guess what it does to that mercury, Mike? It condenses it. Mm-hmm. So now your dog is really getting a powerful shot of mercury. There you go. Kyle already knows. And mercury is going to screw up your dog's neurological system very fast. So just like that. However, and look, this is absolutely free, right? This right here, sardines, they don't live up to a year, and their mercury levels are negligible. So if you're feeding your dog salmon right now, or mackerel, or tuna, you shouldn't be tuna live for more than a year. Any fish that lives over a year, do not feed it to your dog. That includes shark. I had somebody asking me about shark the other day. Yeah, you don't feed shark or kingfish.
Even more so, shark is a very long-living fish.
What's that, tarpon?
It has to do with the lifespan. No, I was saying shark is a very long-living fish. Yeah. So, anything that's the longer a fish is in the ocean, the more mercury content it's going to have.
That's it, man. Hey, Carlos Font says, hey, man, I share your information and videos. Not when they ask me. I send them straight to you. I never try to take credit for someone else's research. And I can tell you this. I have seen Carlos Font give me my flowers. Carlos, nothing but love for you, bro. You already know, man. Whatever you need, hit me up. I got you. Nothing but love for you, bro. Peter Stoiber.
And that's what it's for. I mean, Raul doesn't gatekeep this stuff. He shares it so that you can share it with other people. That's what we want, is to educate, to share the information. That's why the kibble analyzer is free.
There you go.
It's because he's trying to share the wealth. He's trying to share the information, but it's another thing to sit behind the screen and act like you created this content, or to try to recycle the information.
No. Hey, look, man, I've said from the get, bro, this is information I've researched and I've actually put on my dogs. Like that's what I'm sharing with you. Peter Stoiber saying eggs and sardines, the spermination recipe. By the way, Pete, just letting you know, man, I haven't sent you the text yet. My girl Sunshine is at a 4.5. I'm testing her again Tuesday morning. I'll let you know, man. But either way, you're absolutely right. This is going to raise spermination, right? You're getting your vitamin A's. You got your omegas coming in. I mean, it's such good. Think about this. When food makes your dog, your animal, more vital, in other words, more reproductive, that can only tell you that whatever it is that you're giving is actually helping them out more. Carlos Font, number love, man. I appreciate you. So with that being said, I do want to say a couple of things. All right. Homemade dog food. And I know a lot of dog owners are shifting to homemade dog food because they have come to the realization that kibble is just a survival bowl. It's just not going to give your dogs what they want, especially with that war going on in Iran. Let me tell you something real quick. I just went to Sam's Club, right? That salmon and sweet potato formula, the price has not gone up a penny, which only tells me their sourcing has had to go down because the price of gas had to go up. With that being said, a lot of people are cooking for their dogs. I'm happy about that. What I'm not happy about is the fact that you're just thinking you could just cook anything for your dog. And, research through the VCA has shown that homemade meals often lack calcium, which we spoke about, zinc and copper balance, vitamin D, vitamin E, iodine. Iodine is very key for your dogs. Okay. If you have a dog whose hair is like falling off and brittle and you're feeding them all this good stuff, you really need to check the iodine levels in your dog, because that's one of the things that's going to show immediately in a dog is if the iodine levels are not there. You also don't want to overdo it. Okay. In the medical field, we have a saying: you don't want your vehicle to be on full or all the way in empty. You want it in the middle. That's where the health is at. It's not all the way here or all the way there, right? Just keep that in mind. We have Kevin Scalwright saying, I send people your page specifically when it comes to feeding garlic. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. By the way, if you're watching us and you're appalled at the fact that we feed garlic to our dog, before you ask, I'm going to answer. I feed 1 garlic clove per 100 pounds of dog, which gets crushed or chopped into thin slices. We let it sit for 15 minutes, right? So that Alan can actually react with air through allanase and create allicin, which is actually safe for your dogs. Those are the amounts that we give. If you go into Google, you're going to find, first of all, they're going to scare you and tell you that feeding garlic to your dog, you shouldn't feed it because it's toxic for the dogs. That's what they're going to say. Then when you come across the information that's going to say, okay, you could actually feed garlic to your dog, it's actually going to give you a dose that is higher than what we're actually feeding. The bottom line is this. If you're ignorant, you're going to be used and abused by those that are actually smart. Therefore, do your own research and don't let them outsmart you. Keep that in mind. It's
a really good flea deterrent too, which is something that's hard on your dogs. All these flea and tick medications that people get from the vets are really hard on the dog.
Flea and tick deterrent is also a good dewormer. Yeah, dewormer. Yeah, I said it. Dewormer. Yeah, it's actually very effective, right? But you wouldn't know this if you use Google as your sole reference and you type a very generic question and you take the top of the surface answer. You got to research, guys. You got to put in the time. You're only going to get what you put in. Peter Stoiber, we send 4 to 7 billion swimmers every time. Roger that. Roger over. BCNEW, is kelp powder for iodine good? It is. How much? Okay. So BCE, here's the deal. I can't say how much because each company that's going to be making, say, kelp powder is going to have different concentrations and from different sources. So I can't tell you. What I can tell you is go online and find out what's the exact dose that you should be giving to your dog based on its weight, and find a product that is, producing it and see how much of that you're going to give. But it's not going to be the same across the board. So I can't answer that. Right.
Yeah, and if any of this is overwhelming to y'all, if you hear this stuff, you think like, shit, it's a lot. How about NuVet and NuJoint and just don't worry about it.
It's already there.
It's already there.
It's really that simple. Not only that, you get 13% off with AutoShip if you use our code. Not only that, here's the kicker. You get yourself NuVet, which is the green bottle. You get NuJoint DS, which is the blue bottle. You ordered it as AutoShip and you get the 13%. And I'm going to give you a free one-on-one 20-minute FaceTime consult. Whatever your dog's dealing with, we're going to sit there and we're going to talk about it. And just because I say 20 minutes doesn't mean we don't go over. Plenty of times I've gone over into 40, 50, even 50 minutes, even an hour long if I have to. Just throwing that out there. Richard Charles says, thank you for all the knowledge you share. My Borbles are thanking you for helping me become a more educated dog owner. There you go, Rich. Number love, man. Appreciate you.
I had the opportunity at our guy Colehouse's show. He had at Cersei this past year to see a young Borble puppy. It's not the first one I've seen, but the most recent that I've seen. It's a fascinating breed, man. They are big, powerful, beautiful dogs. They have a very interesting head shape, and it was cool to see the little pup do some weight pulling.
Listen, man, I've seen a Borble, a mature Borble, do one of them little stance things, like looking like a cat, basically. No, man, that's a little too much for me, bro. I'm going to pass on that one. Listen, here's one thing that a lot of people that are feeding their dogs at home don't realize, that they're causing all sorts of issues when they're feeding legumes. Now, I've spoken on this before, but I want to be more specific because I've had people hit me up showing me what they're feeding their dogs. And, I get that you might see beans or, lentils and that sort of thing in a bag of dog food. But to go to a bag of dog food and reconstruct that at home, it may not be the best idea. Okay. Let me give you guys a little bit of info on that.
They have you wondering why they put all that crap in there in the first place if you try to recreate it.
Yeah. The FDA actually investigated reports of canine dilated cardiomyopathy. Okay, so dilated cardiomyopathy means the heart actually stretches and becomes bigger. You would think logically, well, a bigger heart's going to pump better. No, it's actually the other way around, because it's not that it's a bigger heart, it's that it gets stretched into becoming a bigger heart. And so the heart walls, if you were to zoom in and just say they were about yay thick, they actually become a lot thinner. So think about it. Those ventricles, right? Ventricles have to pump. If they have to pump and there's higher pressures there, what happens when that wall becomes that much thinner? It can't pump as much. And now you have a dog that's hacking and coughing. That's usually one of the red flags that there's something going on. Even now and then, not now and then, but consistently having hiccups and coughing is usually a sign that something may be going on with the heart, right? So I'm saying all that to say, stay away from beans, garbanzo beans, lentils, red beans. You know, dogs are carnivores and they are opportunistic herbivores, right? But dogs, you know, where they came from, wolves, don't go eating beans. In fact, they naturally don't eat beans because when you see a bean in its purest form, it's hard. And it's not something that you're just going to chew and eat. Maybe a field mouse might be able to, not a wolf. Now, the wolf will eat that field mouse and whatever's in his stomach. Oh, well, that's going to go through. But to think that you're going to put your dog on beans because it's cheap, it's actually going to run you into a world of hurt. So make sure that you stay away from feeding beans. If you have to feed beans, make sure it's in very small amounts. I'm talking about like no more than a tablespoon's worth per feeding. How about that? Keeping it very, very minimal. In fact, if it was up to me, if they were going to get beans, they might get a tablespoon, maybe once or twice a month. That's how much I'm trying to stress this, right? Also, keep this in mind. This is especially important for large dogs, bully breeds, and dogs already under stress, right? I'm talking about dietary stress, right? So please, because the kibble bag at your grocery store or wherever you buy it says grain-free, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for your dog. They know you're thinking from a human standpoint. That's why they color the bags and they put a nice steak on there that makes you want to go, I don't know, to Texas Roadhouse and maybe order yourself a steak. Who knows? But they're really marketing to you. They're not marketing to the dog, right? So you got to start being able to see past the whole marketing tidbit and stop thinking as a human when it comes to dog food and start learning the insights so that you don't run into trouble. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. BCE says he's talking about NuVet. He says it's never available in stores or only online. And this is correct. NuVet, by the way, NuVet is made at human food grade level. It is not sold in stores. If you want it, okay, you're going to have to go to NuVet.com. And guess what? You're going to have an ordering code. If you use my ordering code and you do AutoShip, you're getting 13% off. And in addition, I'm giving you a free consult. It's really that simple. And yes, we will be checking your order. So if you think that you can lie to me on the phone, because I've had people try pulling a fast one on me, I am going to need the order code so I can verify on my end. If it's there, we're going to be talking within an hour or two. Let's see. Peter's saying, nope, it gets harder. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Okay, yes. The heart is a muscle and it gets harder the more it has to work for sure. Yeah. Yep. Sodium, beans, really not good for muscle. The other thing that people run into trouble with is feeding their dogs bone broth, Mike. Bone broth. Now, bone broth is good within itself, right? But a lot of times we get a little lazy and we don't read the labels of the stuff that we're feeding our dogs. and a lot of bone broth out there.
Very high in sodium.
Not just sodium. You had said it earlier. It's
Potassium.
high in onions.
Oh, onions.
Onions and sodium. No, you're right about sodium, but
Yeah.
also onions. And so, yeah, you guys,
I
I'm
did
telling
not
you.
know that.
Yes, sir. Now, Franklin Glode brings this up, and I'm glad he does, because I actually feed my dogs green beans, and he's saying green beans are bad. So I don't know if he's just throwing this out here so we could talk about it or not, but I'm actually going to touch up on it real quick. So green beans in a can, no bueno. No bueno. High sodium. Natural green beans, bueno.
Yeah.
The whole bag of green beans, no bueno. Right?
Yeah.
You see how we can go from bueno to no bueno real quick?
Yeah. It's how you do it.
You just grabbing four, not even 4 or 5. Yeah. 4 or 5 green beans, split it in half for a 60, 70 pound dog. That's fine. That's actually good. Green beans is one of the best soluble fibers out there for dogs, right? But if you're getting it from a can, then you're going to have somebody like Frank Glode being absolutely right. But if you're doing like I'm doing and you're getting them nice and fresh, only 4 or 5, and you're breaking them and you're giving them to your dog, then Frank over here is wrong. So you see how it can definitely go both ways. So New Blood Kennel says live NuVet, it helps with keeping, I guess, love NuVet. It helps with keeping my litter and female good and healthy. Absolutely, New Blood. We have Alma Guzman, sprouted lentils. What would be the difference if given sprouted? I don't know. I wouldn't play around with beans, period. Like
sprouted lentils are better for us because they break down better once they've been sprouted. And I think there's another benefit to it as well, but it's the dogs really don't need lentils or things like that in their diet very much at all.
No. It's like feeding a parakeet a steak. Trust me, they're getting enough protein from the little seeds they eat. They don't need to eat a steak. New Blood says, what's a good food to help males replace sperm? Listen, Peter Stoiber, I had mentioned it, and he hit it on the head as well. And that's boiled eggs, sardines. You're getting all your vitamin E's. Everything you need is there. That should be able to raise the sperm count to a healthy number. If you're feeding that and your dog's not getting there, then you're probably dealing with something else.
I haven't used it in my own program, but I was going to ask you what you think about maca root or maca root. I've even researched some myself. It says that it's good to increase sperm count in the males.
I think we spoke about that
we did, but I don't remember if you said you had tried it or looked into it.
Look, here's the thing, Mike. Like, this is just me. This is not, written anywhere or anything. The very first thing I go to in my head is my dog is a carnivore. Maca root is a root. It's not. You don't see wolves.
It wouldn't be something they'd eat in the wild, yeah.
You don't see wolves just naturally digging up a beetroot and eating it, right? So I'm not saying that it can't be. What I'm saying is I would have to research the whole maca root and if you could give it to the dog. Because the first line of defense in my head is it natural for them to come across and eat it? If the answer is no, then the next step would have to definitely
that's a good rule of thumb, I would say.
Yeah. Let's see here, man. Sitsness. How can you overfeed green beans? What's the problem with fresh green beans in larger quantities? Green beans, I said, are high in soluble fiber. So you turn around and you give too much to your dog, you're going to end up with diarrhea. You're going to throw your dog off. The dog is meant to eat some of this, some of that, right? If you unbalance the dog, you're going to end up screwing them up. I mean, something as good as liver, right? You feed too much of it, you're going to screw your dog up. So why would you want to feed too much of it? Why don't you just follow the instructions and stay within the guidelines?
Like you said, they're opportunistic herbivores. They're not. They're
Right.
they can't. They're not vegetarians. So like any high amount of, if you look at barf diet proportions and stuff, it's not going to be a lot of fruit and vegetables. They can eat some of that stuff, but they don't need a high percent. You don't need half of their meal to be fruit and vegetables.
No. First of all,
it's going to be hard on their body because of their pancreas, right?
Not only that, they only have 7 feet of intestines. Average. They might go over a little bit or under a little bit. We have close to 30 feet of intestines for a reason, because we're omnivores. We could eat meat, we could eat vegetables, we could eat this, we could eat that. The way that they're made up, it's totally different. First of all, a lot of the vitamins that are going in to a dog from vegetables, a lot of them will get destroyed at the stomach level because their pH in their stomach is made to wither away bone because they're carnivores, right? So yeah, it's just, you can't just make a statement where, oh yeah, I'm just going to feed them a ton of green beans, it's going to be good for them. It just doesn't work that way. How about broccoli? Yeah, what about it, man? Broccoli's great. I've spoken about it. Watch my anti-yeast videos. For male sperm, I know guys add olive oil, green lip muzzle, iris sea moss. Okay, I can see. I'll be honest with you. If I had an issue with a dog producing sperm, I would probably go into grass-fed liver. Probably. I would probably change. I would look first at the diet. Are you feeding kibble or are you feeding something else? Because if you're feeding kibble, okay, there's such high sugar levels of starches and carbohydrates in there that can actually impede and interrupt a lot of the processes, from hormonal processes with testosterone to the production of sperm. So just cutting that out and going to either fully cooked or raw alone is going to be a very important tweak. Okay. Then you need to follow it up with the right amount of vitamins, because the dog, you can't just feed muscle meat and think the dog's going to be fine. You got to feed bone. We talked about a mineral unbalance. The way you balance minerals really quick is you feed bone and you feed the meat, and then you also have to feed vitamins. It's going to be naturally. Now, if you're able to get grass-fed, no antibiotic, no trenbolone acetate. Trenbolone acetate is what they give to calves once they're, I want to say 5 weeks old. I could be wrong. Can be 6 weeks old, in order for them to start growing. It's a growth hormone. If you know bodybuilders or even professional athletes, or even, people that are into sports and that sort of thing, they use this, right? So it ends up in the animal's liver. So you end up feeding that to your dog, and then you're wondering why your dog's not producing sperm, for example. I'm not saying that that's a direct cause, but I can tell you, I remember bodybuilders back in the days, they were injecting themselves with steroids. And what was the thing that was coming out of all that steroid use? Their reproductive organs, in particular, their testicles, were getting smaller. They were shooting themselves up with testosterone. Well, guess what? The FDA, and I just made a video on this, Mike. I just spoke about this synthetic hormone. But guess what? The FDA allows for testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone to be injected into cattle. So you're now feeding this beef liver to your dog, where it has an accumulation of testosterone along with all these other hormones. And all of a sudden, your dog is not regulated when it comes to sperm production. See how that can work?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I stay away from, where I'm at, I can't get grass-fed liver. And if I did, I'm going to pay an arm and a leg for it, because I just don't have one dog. I have quite a few dogs, right? So that's why I decided, well, then we're going to go with this, because with this, I know, first of all, it's made at human food grade level, which is the highest level known to man, right? It is cold pressed. It isn't cooked. So it's bioavailable for the dog. It's never been recalled. That's important, right? They're not cutting corners in the production. And I know the exact amounts that my dogs are getting. And my dogs cannot overdose because this is given vitamin A, for example, that animals overdose a lot on. It's given vitamin A, but it doesn't give them enough where they're going to overdose if you're feeding it on a daily basis. It's giving them just enough so that they can remain healthy. And that's what you want, right? Let's see here. Let's see. Rio Ground says, I feed cooked sweet potatoes, a good source of vitamin A and C and B6, also a good source of fiber. Yep, sweet potatoes are. I will say, however, if you're having issues with your dogs having a yeast infection, you might want to stay from sweet potatoes. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's see here. How about female fertility? Well, vitamin E is as important for male fertility as female fertility. Now, you don't want to go bonkers, right? But female fertility, something else that affects them big time, omega-3s. Omega-3s. Notice it's almost the same thing on both sides, right? So omega-3s, vitamin E, literally, you get yourself a can of this, you get yourself an egg, and you get yourself some of this, you're pretty covered, pretty much covered, unless your female's walking around with an ovarian cyst or something like that. For those of you that feel like you're feeding your dogs the right thing, yet you're having issues with them getting pregnant or whatnot, I suggest you take your dog to your vet, have them do an ultrasound of their ovaries to make sure that there's not an ovarian cyst there, because that will throw your dog off in many different ways. Is cream of wheat bad for your dogs in frozen treats? Dinky 76. I would not be feeding my dogs wheat in any way, shape, or form. When it comes to wheat, soy, or corn, those are your main dog allergies after beef and dairy. What a coincidence. They also inject testosterone, right? They also inject estrogen. They also inject trombolone acetate, which is they make it in a lab and then they inject it into the cow. What do you know? Right? Oye Sitsness says, what source of ground up bone do you use and where do you source it? I was thinking about buying ground up eggshells. My dogs stay inside, especially in the winter. Okay, so I buy chicken at Walmart. That's what I do. And I have a grinder. I have plenty of videos if you want to check them out. It's a big old grinder. It costs me about $1,000. Literally, you chop up the chicken, you throw it in there, and what you get on the other end is nothing more than chicken meat ground up along with little grains of sand. And that's how I source it. Peter Stoiber is talking about how about omega-9s? Well, you're getting that as well, Pete. Sardines, yeah, they're high in omega-3s. Don't get me wrong, but they're high on the omegas, man. You're going to be okay. What about bison testicles? What about them? Organ meat. What about them? I have never really given that to any one of my animals. Luckily for me, may I knock on wood, I've never had a dog with sperm issues. Okay. But if I had an animal with sperm issues, the very first thing I'll be looking at is into changing the diet and making sure that they're eating more protein. Let me say this other part before you shut it off and go running. Okay. It doesn't mean protein in a bag of kibble, because we just spoke about legumes such as lentils and beans and all that stuff. So what do you think they do, right, when they're filling a bag of kibble? Here's the problem. A bag of kibble is a company, right? Behind that bag of kibble, there is a company. And companies are there to make $1. Yeah, sure, they want to act and make it seem like they're there to take care of your dog, but they're really there to make $1, right? And so they understand that you as a human for the last 20, 30 years have been conditioned to understand that high protein diets help you lose weight and make you feel better and whatnot. And they also understand that you're probably not that educated. I'm talking about in general terms. You haven't really sat there and given it a good 2 or 3 hours of research to figure out, what your dog should be eating. This is what they're banking on. Okay, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying this is what they're banking on. So what they do is they'll grab lentils and they'll grab beans and throw it in the bag. But guess what? Lentils and beans, they have protein in them. They're incomplete proteins, but they're proteins nonetheless. And they're proteins that your dogs really can't use much of because your dog is a carnivore. So taking in protein from plants is really not helping, but it definitely raises the protein level in the bag. And that's where they sell you the kibble. That's why when I say you want to give your dog more protein and you like an idiot shut it off and go running and buy a bag high in protein, you're going to come back 2 or 3 months from now, you're going to wag your finger at me. This is what happens for taking a shortcut, right?
Yeah.
Your dog is a carnivore. The cleaner and the better protein you give your dog, the better their immune system is going to work, the better their reproductive system is going to work, yada, yada, yada. But you also got to watch your back. What do I mean by that? Well, I just spoke on liver. We spoke on trebolone acetate. We spoke on the testosterone they're putting into the liver, right? Into the cow or the calf or the bull, right? And it ends up in the liver along with, estrogen and any other hormone that the FDA allows. And then you're giving this to your dog. So if you're a breeder and you're having sperm issues and you've been feeding, cow liver, you might want to look into that a little bit more. Here's the kicker. Let me just show you how the cat and mouse game works. FDA says you can't put growth hormones in chicken liver, in chickens, better yet, my bad, in chickens. But here's the crazy part. Chickens in America are probably one of the fastest growing chickens in the world. In fact, a lot of times they don't even know what it's like to stand up because they grow up so fast and they weigh so much that they're too heavy to be able to stand on their 2 feet. But per the FDA, you can't feed growth hormones to chicken. So if you're out here feeding chicken livers and you have a little bit of common sense, I don't know. I would strongly suggest for you to check things out. That's all I'm going to say. Right. Let's see here. So Mr. Arthur says, yeah, I saw someone did a video of roasting edamame for the dog for a treat. I mean, that's soy. I wouldn't be giving that to a dog. That was a little dog too. Yeah. Here's the problem with soy. Soy has something in it that mimics estrogen in your female dog. So if you're out here roasting edamame and giving it to your dog and she's having split heats or too long of heats or too short, you may just be the cause. It's really that simple. This is why I come back around and say the best thing for a dog is to have an owner that if you don't know something, research it. And I don't mean just plug in a generic question and go off of the first answer of Google. That is not researching. That is public engineering, banking that you're going to be enough of an idiot to ask a generic question and go off of the first answer. If you do that, you deserve everything you get.
And that's why they have the generic basis covered. So when you look it up, the first few things you're going to find is whatever they want you to find.
Yeah. Rinku's like, what do you think on Zesty Paul vitamin bites and calming bites? I'm going to tell you this right now, Rinku. I've already received cease and desist letters from 5 different companies. So I'm not going to sit here and throw that company under the bus. What I'm going to do instead is tell you I know about Nuvet NuJoint DS. I know it's made at human food grade level. I know it's cold pressed and it's not cooked, so it's bioavailable for your dog. I also know that my dogs have been on it and I've seen nothing but positive things come out of them. So that's what I can say. Food grade diatomaceous earth, somebody was talking about, and I just made a video on that. Here we go. Food grade diatomaceous earth added to their food. Question. Yeah, you're going to kill parasites. Make sure you follow the instructions on the bag. Make sure it is 100% food grade. Otherwise, you can kill your dog.
Mhm.
Baking soda bath as we speak. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Summertime is the best time for baking soda baths. They really are. My dog doesn't like sardines. What can I substitute for one gas? Omegas. My bad. Omegas. I'll tell you what you can do. You could buy omega little capsules. Get yourself some cheese if your dog likes cheese. Try to make sure it's as least fat cheese as you can. Melt it in the microwave for a good 10 seconds or so. Put the little capsules in there, cover it up into like a little spaceship. Let it cool, and then give it to your dog and see if they eat it that way. That's the best I can give you. Either that, or you can add some chicken broth to their food along with the sardines. I have a picky eater. Whenever there's chicken broth, I don't care. You can put whatever you want in there. It's gonna be eaten. It's really.
I have one that does the same thing. She gets picky about something to put a little chicken broth on it. It's good.
Really quick, man. I'm going to go off of the last point, and then we're going to close this out. Do not feed your dog raw fish, please. Please don't. Just so you know, raw fish have a particular enzyme that's called thiaminase. Thiamine is vitamin B1, and your dog's neurological system needs it. And if all of a sudden you're feeding your dog raw fish, you're going to deplete them of the vitamin B1, and you might get a rowdy dog. Who knows? It's going to mess around with their neurological system. Even sardines, you don't feed raw. Feed them out of a can because they've been cooked, and that thiaminase is whenever you cook it. Remember, I've spoken about kibble, how it degrades and denatures things. Well, this has already been denatured as well because it was cooked, but obviously not to the point as kibble. So, hey, man, I think I pretty much hit on several topics tonight. Is there anything you wanted to add, Mike?
Be careful what you put in your dog. We've talked about it week after week. Do the research or take the easy, safe route with the NuVet NuJoint. It's, I speak on it because that's what I give my dogs, and I haven't had any problems at all. And I think what we put in our bodies and what we put in our dogs is of the utmost importance. And so do your research, know what you're doing, be careful.
Yep, definitely. Real quick, Ashley Barnes is saying, have you ever given your dog sea moss, and what are your thoughts? I haven't really given sea moss. What I have given is kelp in the past. I really didn't see much of a difference. I understand it's going to help with their thyroid. I get it. And I know you want to regulate that. But again, I can only go truly off of my experience in that in the 10 years that I've been breeding, I've never had a dog with thyroid issues.
Well, it goes back to what you said too. Is this something the dog's going to eat in the wild in any circumstance?
Yeah, I guess if you have a wolf next to a beach, yeah, he's going to be eating rodents that probably ate a crab or something that probably ate some, but it's not going to be necessarily
regular.
Yeah, I would do my research online to make sure I don't go over. That would be my main thing. I have read that sea moss does bring many benefits, and I don't doubt them. Okay, but I also understand my dogs are getting plenty of iodine from natural sources that we're feeding them. So I don't have the necessity to go running and getting sea moss or kelp. The time I did feed kelp to my dogs, I really didn't see a need to keep coming at it. That's why you guys never really heard me speak about feeding kelp or sea moss in large amounts or anything like that, because I didn't see much of a difference. 1, 2, feeding too much. You don't want to be feeding too much iodine to a dog. Plain Greek, yes. Actually, plain Greek, yes, but it's not as good as kefir with probiotics. Just throwing that out there. Thanks. I'll get my dogs off and get some NuVet. There you go, Ring. Yeah, man. No, do me a favor. And I'm about to start a challenge, if you want to call it that. And that what it's going to be is going to be a NuVet 30-day, 6 month, and 1 year challenge. And if you give me before and after pictures of your dog at 30 days, then at 6 months, and then at 1 year, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to give you 2 months worth of NuVet absolutely free. That's how I'm going to roll with it. Because I have a lot of people that are buying NuVet. Here's what's crazy. I have people buying NuVet at this point 5 times more than they did 2 years ago. Nobody wants to send me pictures. And I know why they're not sending pictures. It's actually working and fixing their problem. And so they forget about, sending me a picture or whatnot. So I decided, you know what? We're going to add that as
incentive.
As an incentive, for people to want to take pictures and send them my way. Either way, man, let me bring my dude from the back. What is going on, bro? Hey, man, I saw you working it out today, bro. I heard the claps. I heard the boos. You doing your thing back there, bro.
That's it. Got to, man.
Hey, man, start us up, Kyle.
It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back of the queue, catching you on the next one.
Money Midnight.
Creek Bend Kennel, Arkansas, baby. Co-host with the most. We'll be catching y'all on the next one.
Hey, you already know we're doing this every Sunday at 8 p.m. CST. Make sure to join us. Ask us your pertinent questions. Also, become a channel member for as little as $5 a month. If you came in and asked a question like my lady over here, Miss Inserata, and you have that next to your name, I am definitely 100% going to answer your question. Like right now, my dogs love the kefir. My dogs too. Either way, guys, been Raul from the queue, and I'll be catching you on the next.
We are going for a whole hour, straight dog talk and the song. Jump on in and speculate. Show up on time, don't be weak and late. We are community, so don't hate.